Hey guys, today I found a new post from a username Amusing Squirrel, 18-year-old with minor savings looking for advice. Hello, I am 18 years old and I'm an incoming first year college student studying actuarial science. I have 4,000 from my past summer jobs. My family is going to pay for my college, but they aren't very financially literate, so I don't know what to do with my money. Should I open up a high yield savings, open up a student credit card, dabble in stocks, something else? I currently don't have any account in my name. Thank you in advance for sharing your advice. Excuse me. Uh, and if you actually read some of the comments from the other users, basically they said that high yield savings account is the way to go. You want that money to be liquid, easily accessible. A lot of people actually recommend not opening up any stocks just because the amount of money is not a whole lot. Some people said that maybe you want to consider buying a CD or something like that. And again, I think a lot of people are talking about again not getting the dabbling into the stock market just because again the I guess kind of like a risk reward is not as much, and a lot of people are actually advising against you. But it sounds like you're saying that hey, the parents or the family is actually covering all college expenses. I was thinking $500 in stocks, not a good idea. Asking no questions. There's a bunch of posts here. But I guess a lot of people are leaning towards high yield savings account. So my thought is actually a little bit different, and I think it's actually probably, I guess, on the opposite end of what everybody else is saying. So when I graduated from my college, I graduated with a 4-year degree, business degree and stuff like that. One of the biggest thing that I wish I had was a little bit different. I also I didn't have a high yield savings account back then, but I dabbled into stocks. I was working part-time job at school, and with the money I was earning, I was able to pay for my expenses. And the little I had left, I actually dabbled into stock market. Back then, you had to pay for the transactions, so like you pay to buy and you pay to sell and stuff like that, which I didn't really think much of it. And because I had such a little money, the transaction fee ate up more than the profits I would have been making from those small transactions, which was a lesson I had to learn. Which I think in most cases nowadays is almost all eliminated or very very little if any, which is good. But the thing I really really wanted to do now looking back, and this is like just a few years after I graduated, was actually try to pick up a skill. Like for me, I wanted to like learn maybe another language, maybe not master it, but maybe dabble into it a little bit, or maybe I also wanted to like learn how to do like speed reading. Like I wanted to read faster, right? I want to be able to kind of read fast and save more time, be more efficient at it. And I kind of wanted to, while I was in school, I had a lot of time. So I wish, if I would have taken like some sort of a seminar or some sort of like a class or something like that, I could have picked up that skill. Maybe learn how to like ride a horse or something like that, or maybe pick up like a new sport that I never really played. Something like that. I really wanted to. I wish when I was, if I could go back to, that age again, 17, 18, being in college, where I have a lot of free time in my hand, I probably would have tried to, knowing what I know now, I'll probably try to take care of my body a little bit more, maybe work out a little bit more, exercise a little bit more, but also maybe try to pick up a sport where I can actually practice from like ground zero to actually be somewhat decent at it. Maybe pick up a good hobby or something like that. Ride a horse, like I said. Or like learn a language, something like that, like a skill, right? Where you can kind of pay very little money because you're in college, right? But actually, you can pick up a little bit of skill. Not again, maybe not be a master at it, but something like that. Now, if you're actually wanting to dabble into the stock market, whether it's $500 or $1,000, even $4,000, like if your family is actually taking care of the whole thing, like there's no real like whatever that you need outside of that, it's all taken care of for sure. Then I think spending as much as you like in stock market is actually not a bad idea, especially again because there's no transaction costs and stuff like that. For the most part, like most people say, 4,000 is not a lot of money to for the risk reward. So losing that 4,000, yeah, it's a lot of money, especially at that age, and you spend whole summer trying to save that up. But it's also $4,000, even if you lost it all, right? So, which I'm sure is going to be very, very difficult to do that. But even if you did, I think that would be a good lesson for you to kind of learn and stuff like that. And I'm sure you won't be spending 4,000 on like a penny stock where you're thinking, hey, it's gonna go up, dramatically, and it's gonna go down to zero, tomorrow. So if you kind of dabble with it, I'm sure you kind of pick up some things and learn, lose, win some, lose some, stuff like that. I don't know what your strategies or your trading style is like, but I'm sure neither do you. So you can take this time to kind of figure it out and see, maybe you'll learn something that you learn that you're really good at what the trading stocks. Maybe you'll learn that you have a knack for it or something like that, and maybe you don't have to take that advice from people about, hey, I can put it all into a whatever, the general index fund, that covers 10% a year compound, like maybe you can do better than that. Who knows? I don't think it really matters at this point what that kind of money. Now, if you're talking about like, a whole lot more money, then maybe, but, for something like that where you saved up just for the past summer jobs and, it's got a $4,000, I say go for it. Maybe you become that next, I don't know, Warren Buffett, something like that. So I'll say go for it, spend that money, you can put it in the high yield savings account, but again, at $4,000, as much as people say, hey, that's not enough for you to actually make a big profit from it, I think it's the same thing goes the other way where, no matter what you do with the $4,000, I don't think it's going to cause that much damage. Putting in the high yield savings account, I don't know if it's going to, make a difference for you in the long run. So, if you want to do it that way, go for it. If it's just trading stocks or crypto or whatever it is, I say go for it, and see how that turns out. But as far as generally speaking, spending the money, definitely like investing in something, some sort of an experience or a skill is what I would do and what I would tell my son if he was asking the same question. Now, one thing I do want to talk about with the credit cards is that generally speaking, of course, you want to have a credit card, right? So if you have nothing in your name, first you got to open up a checking account, right? So you got to have an account where you can store that money. Whether you're going to be putting into high yield savings account or invest it into somewhere else, you got to have a checking account, right? So you can put that 4,000 somewhere. But also, don't use the debit card to pay for things. Use a credit card and then use the checking account to pay that credit card off, right? So of course there's the points and credit and all of that stuff. You can do that. And it comes with some other perks and the rewards and protection and all of that. But one thing to keep in mind, and some people kind of brought it up and stuff like that, is that you don't want to go overboard, and you kind of want to learn to manage your money better and things like that. One thing I want to talk about with the credit card is that when you put things on the credit card, right, those are like expenses, right? And you have a finite amount of assets. The $4,000 you have is an asset. When you use that money to buy other stocks, get into the equities, those are still an asset, right? And you have to learn the difference between an asset, income, expenses, and liabilities, right? Those are the general, like the basic accounting. And so when you have expenses, that expense turns into a liability, so you have to pay that off. and at some point you're gonna run out of asset, right? So you gotta have some sort of an income. In this case, obviously your family is kind of helping you pay for all of those, so they're your source of income. But do not rely. I wouldn't rely on $4,000 that you have to pay for your ongoing expenses, whatever that may be, right? So whether it's living for school or paying for stuff, whatever. So when you do put things on the credit cards to spend it, right? Spend that money. Make sure you have some sort of either an asset or an income to cover that for you, so you're not going to be in the debt where you're paying unnecessary interest and that sort of things. Ideally, you want to have an income to offset your expenses, right? So you have more, and that's what it is. The basis of the personal finance or any finance is that you want to have a ton of income and very little expense in relation to, right? Relatively speaking. So anytime you have an expense, because there's something called the living expense, right? You want to be able to kind of manage that, but also at the same time you want to have some sort of an income. So just want to throw that out there. I know you're still you're going into school and stuff like that, and your family's going to help you take care of it. But now that you're talking about maybe getting into the personal finance side of things, getting the credit cards and all of that, so you want to be able to kind of make sure you know what to do and how to manage it. And the way to manage it is to have an income to pay for stuff. So that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. Again, I know it's a little bit more, it's a little bit different than what most people would recommend. But I'll say, just go for that. Again, if you say $4,000 is a lot of money, it's a lot of money. But if you say it's a very little money, it is. And it sounds like you were able to kind of save up all that $4,000 just from working just for a couple months. You kind of hustle for a couple months over the summer, and you were able to save that up. So, I'm sure you can do that again or more. So, I say go for it while your liabilities are little, while your responsibilities are very, very little. So, good luck. Hope that helps. Who knows? Maybe I'm right. Maybe they're right. But listen to me. Listen to others. Decide for yourself which one is the best option for you. But if you did like what I have to say, leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. Thank you.